Okay, so I went ahead and started the recording. I think we're good to go. So good afternoon, Avi. And for those of you that are going to be watching this, my name is Miguel. I'm one of the tech leads for the Google Developer Student Club at the U of A. So like a brief rundown of what this interview is going to consist of is asking you about your college experience along with any other things that helped you in landing your internship. So I guess first off, I just want to ask, what offer did you get, and are you going to be interning at?
Yeah, uh, I actually got an offer from Dropbox and I got an offer from Amazon, and I have accepted the offer for Amazon, so I will be interning with them in Seattle this summer.
Awesome, awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So like going right into the questions. So like what has your college experience been like up until this point? From, anywhere, you can even backtrack it more to even high school where you maybe began an interest in computer science all the way up to, now accepting the offer from Amazon, and kind of to tack on something even more, like what would you recommend students coming into CS?
Yeah, so I think you asked a few questions there about why I got into computer science. I think so. I was initially going to major in physics, so it was either going to be physics or it was going to be computer science. And give me 1 second. Um, Sorry about that.
No
All
worries.
right. So it was either going to be physics or it was going to be computer science. I ended up picking comp sci, and that's pretty much it. Really, as for
Okay.
what I think helped me during my um, land this internship or my college experience, I think my main piece of advice would be to be involved
Hmm.
um, in whatever way you can. It doesn't have to just be, with computer science things. It can be, I was part of like hall council at my dorm, and like I made a
Yeah.
bunch of friends there, and I got to learn about opportunities. So you can do stuff like that. You can join clubs. I also work at Techco, which was amazing because I'd never done web development before I joined there. So
Awesome.
uh, really, just being involved gives you a lot of opportunity to learn new things, and that kind of helps you nail the interview, because then when they ask about, oh, do you have experience doing this, or have you had an instance of this happening in the workplace, then you have plenty of examples and real life stories to pull up.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so like that's definitely a good response. Like I know you touched on like networking. So like I guess to like elaborate on that, like even though you said like being involved and you were in clubs and the thing, like what are some things like outside of the university that you would say maybe like networking events that you have attended that you may have found useful?
uh Outside of the club, I think my main one is I like to work on a lot of like personal projects. And
Okay.
so usually when I go to a hackathon, I might just team up with like random people, and then that's a form of networking. And that's not necessarily in the university, right? Because
Mm,
uh, the UFA has their hackathon, which didn't happen last year, but
yeah.
Major League Hacks or Major League MLH basically, they have a lot of other hackathons going on throughout the year, and that's a great place to meet people. Um, you can also just attend workshops. Like I think other GDSCs also put up workshops which you can go to and interact with people. Um, and I think my only other, well, this is sort of in the university, but I'm involved in research, and
Okay.
I met a lot of like professors and made connections through that. So that also helps.
Okay, gotcha. Can you like touch base on like your research and like what it's about?
Sure. My research is not necessarily super closely related with whatever I'll probably be doing at Amazon,
Oh, okay.
or what I've been doing recently. But basically, we're researching socially intelligent AI, which
Mm,
is we're trying to get sort of like a Siri or Google Assistant in your ear, but for agents out in the field, maybe doing a fire rescue. And the agent is able to say, okay, prioritize rescuing this person, or this part of the building is collapsing, so don't go there. Or, maybe between two members, they're like, you don't seem to work well with this other person on your team. So I'm
Yeah.
instead going to pair you up with this uh, other person, and that person can go alone. It's that kind of thing. It's like sort of developing AI that understands social context and emotions, which is
Yeah.
pretty challenging because I think that's like the Achilles heel when it comes to AI. But
Yeah.
representing emotions is like a weird thing, and that's one aspect of the problem that we're tackling.
Awesome. Yeah, so like I guess before I jump in like more directly to like your actual internship and how it was like in terms of the interview process, like I guess another question in regards to your academics, like are you like considering, so like right now you're in your undergrad, are you considering at all like any type of like higher education, like a master's or a PhD, which might correlate with like your research, like things that you might want to, expand on in terms of higher education?
Yeah, so there's no guarantee, but currently the plan is probably after graduating, working maybe for a
Okay.
couple of years and then pursuing a PhD.
Okay.
But that's still a ways away. I do want to at least get a master's,
Hmm.
but again, that's a ways away. So we'll see in like 2 or 3 years where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's a good answer. And like, so like now in terms of like the offer you got in terms and the interview process, like what was your interview with Amazon like what advice do you have for other students? Or I guess even before you touch on that, like any techniques that you use to prepare for this interview with Amazon?
Uh, yeah. So I mean, I think everybody says this, but like, be confident with your basic algorithms,
Mm,
and you don't need to know anything insane like Eulerian circuits or anything, just your binary trees, ABL trees, that kind of stuff. Um, Something I did was I practice whiteboarding, and
okay.
so there's this YouTube channel that I used called Neat Code. That's
Neat code.
NEETCODE, Neat
Okay.
Code. And what that channel does is basically it posts solutions to a lot of the popular questions asked at FANG companies.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like a really great set of questions and answers. And what I
Mm-hmm.
like to do is like, click on one of the videos. Each video is only like 3 or 4 minutes long, typically.
Yeah.
Attempt to solve it myself. Once I think I have a solution, I'll like watch the video, see what the optimal solution is, and write notes or like whatever. But that's the kind of practice that I did. I
Mm-hmm.
also have Cracking the Coding Interview, which is a great book.
Mm-hmm.
I read it a while back.
Okay.
So either that or YouTube. I mean, honestly, just the YouTube channel that I used is probably enough, plus a little bit of HackerRank and
Oh,
Lead
okay.
Code,
Yeah.
but nothing insane.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So in terms of like advice for like other students, would you recommend just like kind of like you said, like as long as you're, of course show confidence in the basic algorithms that which you can get help in with watching that YouTube channel. You don't think, what do you say, like the book Cracking the Coding Interview, like even me, I've heard that name of that book so many times that would you say that it helped in any way, that book at all? Like what do you kind of recommend students to actually, yes, read it, very helpful, or would you say kind of like, you know maybe not that much?
Well, yeah. So it kind of depends where you're at.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely, if you think you're struggling a little bit with algorithms,
Okay.
like really going through that book a couple of times is super helpful because, say you're not confident in dynamic programming problems and you feel like you're never going to be good at it. As long as you go through like 5, 10 examples of those problems and like go through the solutions, by the 11th problem, you'll sort of have an idea of what a dynamic programming problem looks like and how to approach it. So
Okay.
that the book's a great resource when you're starting out. But if you're already at the point where you're sort of confident in your basic memorization or depth first search, the basic stuff, then maybe it's not as helpful, because a lot of the time, if you can't solve a problem, when you look at the solution, you'll be like, oh, I could have done that.
Mm.
So if you're just starting out, or like if you're somewhere in the middle, in terms of how confident you are with your basic algorithms, I'd say get the book.
Okay.
Otherwise, or just take a look at YouTube channels and see where you're at. So it's a case by case basis. Like, I found it helpful, but
Hmm.
like I don't find it helpful anymore, because now it's just kind of like a reference book. Like, if I really need to, I might look something up, but that's about it.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, and like when it comes to like, I mean, you just mentioned your prep. What about like in terms of utilizing maybe like services? Like how did you utilize any services like at the U of A to find and secure your internship? Maybe like to tailor your resume or anything like that?
Uh, a little bit, I guess. So I um, I update my resume pretty often.
Okay.
By which I mean, I'll get it looked at once every month or two. Um, or at least I used to do it that frequently earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, by around last year, I had sort of settled on a format, and so I didn't really continue with that.
Yeah.
But I think Life Lab and sending a resume to Arthur, who's the
Mm-hmm.
career coordinator,
Okay.
um, is super helpful. I also had like my mentors at like GDSC uh, review
Awesome.
my resume. Um, but mostly, um, in terms of using university resources, it's a good place to start. It's a good place to start, but then it's important to have your resume just constantly reviewed by people who are already either working professionally, or just by your friends. You find those typos and those things you can write a little better, and that's honestly it.
Okay, got it. And then you mentioned that like mentors at GDSC. Do you mean just like mentors as in like friends that you see as mentors or like actual people like that are some other people that are not members at GDSC that are your mentors?
Oh, well, I mean, sure, I had some friends at GDSE, some of the other Google leads from my cohort, but
Mhm.
no, the mentor I was talking about in this case was Danny. Uh,
Okay.
he reviewed my resume.
Oh,
Danny,
okay.
I think you know who I'm talking about, right? Like, I think he's still the North America GDSE manager, Daniel Ferrello.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. The name
Yeah,
definitely rings the bell.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, of course. So like moving on, like in terms of like this internship offer, like yeah, being that Amazon is such a big company, right? Like I just want to ask, like, do you have any idea like in terms of what you're gonna be working on with them?
No, so they actually only let us know what you're going to be working on about 2 months before the internship start.
Okay.
So I'll find out probably in a month and a half from now. So I don't
Okay.
actually know what I'm going to be working on.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I totally understand. And like so like in terms of like this internship offer and like your future career, like what are your plans for your future career? Because I know you mentioned like web development that you did have like been experienced with when it comes to I think tech core, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
Mhm.
is web development something that you're planning to do on when it comes to your future career? Like something that you're looking forward to, or like is it something that you hope like you want to do with Amazon, or like what? I guess the main question is like what is your plans for your future career?
Uh, in terms of what I'm working on, I guess um, it changes. right now, web happens to be the main thing I'm focusing on just because it's what I do sort of every day at TechCo. But recently, I've also moved on to doing like VR and XR development in Unity, which
Okay.
is new, but it's fun. Um, and before all that, my main field used to be like machine learning. So like topological algorithms and genetic algorithms was the
Hmm.
stuff I used to primarily work on. Um, so I think it changes. I don't have any one plan for the future. If I had to say, I'd probably end up working either in web or in cloud in the near future. But there's no guarantee. Tech stacks change all the time, and I mean, I basically work in whatever I feel like I'm interested in at the time.
Hey, yeah, that's a good answer. I mean, that's very honest. You're keeping your options open and whatever you're interested in, right? Um,
Yeah.
so like I guess now in terms of because I know you mentioned you did get offers from Dropbox and Amazon. Like, what was your approach when it came to actually applying? Because I think from what I know is that like there's kind of different approaches in terms of like you see like an outline of like the requirements for X internship, and there's people that tailor it specifically to them because they really want that company. And then there's other people that just like kind of um, try to apply everywhere and see where they hit. Like, what was your approach when it came to applying for internships?
Uh, so last year, I didn't really tailor my resume. I used to kind of just submit it to a bunch of places. I actually submitted it to like 213 companies, and I also got
Okay.
213 rejections.
All
Um,
right.
but this year I did tailor my resume. So tailoring your resume is a big yes. You should definitely do that.
Okay.
And it doesn't take a lot of time. It's just a matter of like scanning the job requirements, and like
Mm-hmm.
you see C++, you see C sharp, and maybe JavaScript. Then just put those items on your resume. What I like to do is I have like this document with like my experiences. Let's say like I worked here, bullet points, blah blah blah. And if I see a job that this experience would be relevant to, I just cut out an old experience from my resume and just paste this one in.
Mm.
So it goes pretty fast, and it helps me sort of tailor my resume. So yes, definitely tailor your resume and cover letter to be at least hit the main points of the job requirements, like
Oh,
these
okay.
languages, these frameworks, or like if they ask to show leadership or something, then just put that word in your resume near a relevant experience kind of thing.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so definitely from what it sounds that you had like more success when it came to actually tailoring, right?
Yeah, definitely, because I think it helps you get past the like initial scan.
Oh, okay, okay. And like I guess now what I want to ask is like when it comes to so like this is kind of more of a prediction maybe, but I feel like it's still worth asking. So like even though you have yet to start your internship with Amazon, like would you consider like would your plan be or would you expect that like after your internship with Amazon, being that Amazon is such, what such a well-known company and I would assume it's great interning for them, like would you consider like continuing to intern with them after your internship is done, or would you just want to continue and see if you can land another internship with another big tech company so you can kind of be a little bit more diverse? Or is it like, okay, like yeah, you landed this internship with Amazon and you could definitely predict in terms of like, okay, I probably would want to stay interning with them for X amount of time until I graduate or such.
Yeah. I think that's hard to say without interning for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, but either way, it's always nice to have options. So I will like, whether like I'm sure the internship will be great, but
Mm-hmm.
I will definitely be applying to like different places just to keep my options open in case, maybe I'm placed in a location I don't like, some anything like that. But
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely open to other companies. It's not like I'm necessarily going to stay with Amazon, but
Hmm.
obviously there's no reason I wouldn't if I had the chance.
No, okay, gotcha. Yeah, yeah. I know that was a bit of a kind of a little bit of a tough question because it's kind of unknown, but I feel like it was, maybe some good thing to know. Um,
Yeah.
and being that, so now what I want to ask is like in terms of like touching back on like academics and such, being that the University of Arizona, like they only teach so many things when it comes to like languages and stuff like that, like you mentioned. I know that there's maybe I think one class that does touch like on C++ and stuff. Um,
Hmm.
like when it came to your internship process and finding an internship, like was there any like outside learning that you felt like you had to do that you hadn't already known from like um your previous coursework? Like, do you think that like you were seeing the requirements, you were like, oh, I don't have this, and because you said you were like, tailoring and stuff, were there things that you self-taught yourself that you didn't know from the university, like during your
Uh,
your prep?
yeah, that's a good question. I think the main thing for the university is they teach you like the foundations, but it's probably hard to keep up with all the new frameworks and stuff coming out. So the university is a good place to start learning about like, your algorithms, proofs, that kind of stuff. That's like really important um, in terms of your theoretical knowledge and like implementing good algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely did do a lot of outside learning in terms of, Node.js or Mongo or um, Android Studio, Flutter, like these frameworks that are new, but they don't have like fundamentally different principles from what you learn in school. So it's sort of, you can learn it based on what you've learned in school, but
Mm-hmm.
you'll have to do that yourself. And I kind of do that side by side with my coursework. Um, because you're right. A lot of the times you can't like point to like coursework to say I have experience with like uh, Express, because they don't teach that stuff at school. So you will have to like do personal projects and like uh, work. Like, I did research and I did deco and like just use opportunities to learn new things outside of school.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that's a great response. Like self-learning is very important. I think that's just something that I feel like anybody would be interested to know because there's only so many things you can grasp from your
Yeah.
university courses.
Yeah. It's
So
kind of like
like,
just like stepping stone.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And like, so like, I guess now touching base on like maybe some things that some students might experience during their internship process, like in terms of landing their first opportunity and such. Like, have you ever felt or like been affected like by imposter syndrome, like feeling kind of like inadequate, which I guess will touch back to like the skills, like sometimes you might think like, oh gosh, like I don't have all these requirements, or maybe even in a course, like you didn't feel like you learned this much from your prereq course, and now you're like, have you ever felt like imposter syndrome, and like what are some things that you might have done like to overcome that?
Uh, I think it's pretty hard to overcome imposter syndrome because I don't think I've fully overcome it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
I've definitely experienced imposter syndrome. I think the worst case was, I think I brought this up earlier, but last year I applied to 213 companies and I got 213 rejections. So when you get 213 rejections, you're like, there must be something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think everybody goes through imposter syndrome. I don't think I have any magical fix for it. Uh, I just like didn't stop, and I think that's the main thing. Like, don't let it like get you too down. Like even if you feel like uh, you're an imposter, like just like keep going, and eventually you won't be, I guess, is the
Yeah.
only thing I can say, because it's a hard thing to like get over.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I definitely understand. Like, I know, even me currently, I do feel that, at times, just even with courses and trying to find an internship. Like you definitely do feel like that, especially after you get rejections or ignored.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's
Yeah.
it's definitely not a pleasant feeling. So I guess another question that I have for you, kind of touching base, like you said that for last year you applied to 213, I think it was,
Mhm.
places. And like, can you give us like a bit of like a time frame, like how, because I mean 213 is a lot, like
Yeah.
how long did it take you to apply to 213? I know maybe it's like, was it all just via, like, let's say, like handshake, or did you actually like go to career fairs and like you applied to everybody in that career fair? Like how long did that take? Was that throughout like the whole span of the year and such?
No, I started in July and I was done applying by like October. So
Oh,
like
okay.
4 months. Um, um, it was honestly split between LinkedIn Handshake and like just going to company sites and applying.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely very tedious. Um, I do not recommend applying to that many. Like you should definitely apply to a lot, but 213 might just be a bit like a little too much.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's like but yeah,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
it's tedious. But I started in July because a lot of companies open, like the companies that open their applications early open in July. So that's when I started.
Oh, okay. Open
And
is early.
October, and by October, most of them are closed. So
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So like, I think, like, looking at my list of questions, you pretty much answered everything that I had for you. So what I would have to say is, like, are there any other thoughts or things that you might want to, like, maybe like push home? That maybe any final thoughts that you would want to say?
uh, yeah, just honestly, my biggest piece of advice is to just be involved and like be consistent with like the stuff you do. It doesn't have to be much, just be consistent. That way you're like on top of the things you're doing. That's pretty much it.
All righty. Yeah. Thank you, Avi. Thank you for all this.
Thank you for doing this. It was great talking to you.
All righty. See ya. Bye.
So yeah.